everybody, today I'm going to show you how to color in your drawing using colored pencils. And for this I'm going to be using the Crayola 24 pack of colored pencils. The color that I'm using right now is in the color tan. That's the basic skin tone for this picture. Now this picture I drew in another video, and I'll link that in the description box below. But I decided to do it separately. The reason is because coloring takes a long time and you gotta blend it, make sure it looks nice. So what I do when I color, I use the method of cross-hatching. Instead of coloring very heavily on the picture, it's not going to turn out very well. So just do layer by layer of coloring in, and I started off very light because we're going to be mixing a lot of colors together. And when you color, make sure that the surface underneath is clean, otherwise it's gonna, when you color, it's gonna show through your drawing. So that's what I'm doing, just clearing off the table. Keep in mind, this is the original photo that we're using for this coloring. So the reason that I feel like it's best to start off with the shading first, using any type of pencil. Regular pencil, I use the number 2 pencil. I feel like when you do the shading with that first, it counts as a guideline and you can easily erase it. So it's best to do the shading first, and then when you finish that, you can go ahead and color over it and you blend in all the colors together. That's what is going to make the drawing look more 3D. So you see me here coloring in layers. Yeah, so now I don't have to show you the whole process of this, you get the idea. So I'll just speed through this. Now I'm going to use my light brown color pencil to color over the tan to add some dimension. I'm contouring the cheekbones using the same light brown color, and then after I blend that in there, I'm going to use the tan color as well as magenta for the blush. How I do the contouring is go from dark to light. So I outline the cheekbone using the shadow that I already had from using the number 2 pencil, and then I bring the coloring outwards towards the cheeks from dark to light, and then I use the same method for the other colors. Here you're going to see like I did start off really dark, but using these color pencils is good because you get to go back and erase. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well in case you do mess up. I'll show you how to fix that. Here's a tip: if you're new with coloring on your drawings, I advise that, if you have a drawing that you really like and you want to color it, but you really like how it looks in black and white, leave it alone, copy it, like scan it, print that out, and then practice coloring over your shading on the copy paper. So that's what I'm doing for this video, because I really like how mine turned out with the black and white, instead of having the risk of messing it up with color because I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. I just made a copy of it I'm using for this video here. So you see like I'm coloring the magenta a little bit too dark, but that's fine. I'm going to fix that and I'll show you how in a minute. Taking my eraser, and I'm going to erase very heavily on the top part, and then when I get more into the cheekbone part, I erase a little bit lighter. You can use the eraser to blend stuff in, depending on how you use it, but this is a regular eraser I got from Staples, really cheap. It was on their back to school sale. But yeah, you see how I'm erasing right there very lightly, not too much, because you can keep some of that color So now I'm just going to keep erasing very, very lightly, not too much, because we can keep some of that color in there. So after that's done, I get to go back, and I'm going to grab my number 2 pencil and outline the contour of the cheekbone, go over some of the shading again. So we're starting from pretty much from scratch. So start to light at the line of the cheekbone, and then you bring some of that color outwards towards the more towards the face of the cheeks, and then repeat the same method for the other colors that you use. So now I'm using the tan color, blending it in. Then on top of this, I'm gonna use a little bit more magenta, using the light brown color to blend in with all the other colors. And it's really going to help make the contour and the blush and everything stand out. Now I'm going back in with the regular pencil to add to the shading downward, and then add the other colors on top of that. You can see that the ear already has a little bit of tan on it, and now I'm going to layer a little bit more tan on top for the parts of the ear that's a little bit darker. And then some areas have different kinds of shading, so then I'm going to also add some light brown, some brown, and some black in certain areas. So when you're done, it should look something like this. And now we're going to go into the eyeshadow. I'm using the color magenta for this as well, but for this I had to mix the regular number 2 pencil with gray, and then use the eraser to lighten it a little bit, because you see in the original picture the eyeshadow is a little bit lighter, and this is a mixture of colors. So that's what with color pencils, if you don't have the exact shade that your drawing needs, you can always mix the colors together to get the color that you want. And so see how here I'm layering the different colors on top of each other, depending on what the shadow looks like in the picture. So there's a little more of the shading on the corners of the eyelid, and it's a little more lighter in the middle. So what I did was I basically go in with the eraser and just lightly erase a little bit of the magenta, so that we get the exact effect that we want. As you can see, I'm lightly erasing the center of the eyelid where the light hits the eyelid on the original picture, and that's going to give us the exact effect that we want. When we do the eyeshadow, bring some of the color upwards towards the brow bone. So in case you can't really tell what I'm doing here because my hand is kind of in the way, don't worry about that. I'm going to repeat the same method on the other eye. Black coloring pencil is going to be tricky. If you use it just for outlines, then that's okay. But if you use it for coloring in a larger space or a large area, then that's when you layer it. So you color very lightly, layer by layer, or you can go a little heavier as you go along with the different layers. But just be careful, because black is going to be harder to erase than other colors, and if you try to erase it, it might not erase completely, it might not erase the way you want it to, and it might not turn out the way you want. So just be very careful. So that's why it's just easier to color it in lightly so that you don't make any mistakes.
When I do things like eyebrows, I don't just like outline the eyebrow and then color it in. I use actual little hair strokes so that it looks more realistic. Now we're gonna get into doing the contouring and highlighting on the forehead. You can see I'm just adding a little bit more of the tan color to the forehead before I do anything else. And then I'm going to add the regular pencil to get a little bit of that shading in. Things that I like to do when I'm coloring the forehead and adding shading is that I outline the hair first so that it doesn't get blended in with the shading that I'm going to do. So just lightly add the color, and I'm doing that in an upwards motion. And then I'm going to do it in the opposite direction. I'll do the same for the other areas. You do the contour, you're going to bring some of that color out into the forehead, and then you're going to get the base color, which in this case is tan, and put that in the middle of the forehead area. And this is going to blend all the colors together. So now we're mixing in the white in the middle for the highlight. That's going to really blend everything together. Okay, so now you're going to see a better view of how I do the eyebrow, which is little hairline strokes to make it look realistic. So you just take your time with that, no need to rush, and it'll come out really good. Okay, so now on this eye, I'm going to show you exactly how I do the eyeshadow. So this time I'm going to lightly color in with the magenta color. And then I'm going to go in with the other colors. But I'm going a little bit darker with the magenta on the corner there because there's a little bit of shading in that area. And then I'm going to go in with gray and blend that into the entire thing, but a little bit more where there's shading. So I'm going to use the magenta, the regular pencil there, and the gray. And just mix and blend until we get it right. Notice how I'm blending everything upwards from dark to light. And it's really dark in the crease of the eyelid, and then go lighter as you go upwards. And I'm also using a little black, but not too much, just a little bit. So here I added brown instead of the light brown because it was a little darker in the corner of the eye in the original image. And I'm going to do that as well for the other side of the eye. But for now I'm just going to focus on this eye right here and then go back in with the regular pencil. Make sure when you do the brown or whatever color you use, blend a little bit of it outwards into the other colors where it's lighter. So that's the best way that you can get it to blend in naturally. One of the things that I do for the eye is that I outline the eye first and then I go in with the color layer by layer. And in the original picture her eyes look black, so I'm just going to use black color here. There's also a little shadow in the eye, so just lightly add a little bit of the black color into the eye, but not too much, just a little bit. And then for the waterline, just gonna add a little shading and then add the tan and just blend everything together instead of just leaving it white. There's a little bit of a shadow underneath the the eyes. So I went in with the brown and just brought that under the eyelashes, and then brought it out a little bit underneath the eyelashes, but lightly use the brown. Don't do it really heavy. And just mix it in with the tan color that's already there.